All right, here we go. Second question on the podcast today. Girls, great job on round 1. So let's check out round 2. Lani, you start us here. Second question, and I really enjoy listening to this question because I think it's a challenge, not only for you guys in your generation, but for anybody listening or viewing this. How can God use your generation right now?
I think something that we can do that's been on my heart is just learning to love people but not condone what they do.
Okay.
I think for me personally, it's been a struggle. I personally, whenever I see sin, I kind of like go the opposite direction, which we should. But I think there's a balance between, having those Christian friends and keeping each other accountable, but also having relationships with non-believers because you can't reach people if you don't have somewhat of a relationship with them. So I think it's important to find that line with having those friends you can talk to, but also being involved in others' lives and so that you can be a light to them and show Christ to them.
Yeah, so when you think about that, what would be a first step? And I'd love to hear both of your answers on this. What would be a first step in trying to develop that relationship? Understanding, okay, we don't need to be besties, we don't need to be hanging out all it, but we want to create an environment to be able to speak truth. So what would be a first step?
I think honestly it just goes back to being intentional, not just like, oh, I'll be nice to this person because she's talking to me, but I will actively choose to love this person today.
That's really
and
good.
go out of my way to make sure they feel loved, just like Christ loves them, and show them that love.
Yeah. How would you answer
that? So this is kind of just piggybacking off of what she said, but more specifically like how we go about reaching people like that, because I think with our generation specifically, we have, when we go into stuff like that, we have the mindset of I'm right, you're wrong.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
And I think that the biggest thing is to just go into it and love them through it, and just like she said, be intentional. But something that we all struggle with is just we want to hit them in the head with the Bible and just be like, this is what you should be doing, and you're not doing it.
Right. And that probably does more harm than good, if we're honest, And so I love this challenge, it goes right along with some of the stuff we're talking about with our rad kind of direction right now of reaching the people around you, being intentional with them, being honest, I think, but also being careful of your kind of closeness to them with a goal of sharing truth and love type things. So that's really cool, Lani, to hear. And really that's something that God can use all generations. I think obviously you guys are at a huge place for that, but I think all of us are put in that place to reach the people around us. And so Maybri, how would you answer that question? How can God use your generation right now?
Well, that's kind of what I was answering earlier, but just like specifically how we reach others, I think that we should share our experiences with them, but sometimes that doesn't work because they want facts and not faith. And so I've been doing a lot of like studying and research and like at school writing essays about this type of stuff. But a lot of times we do have to use science and logic to reach people that like specifically atheists or people that are Christians, but they don't act like it or stuff like that. But I think we're not called to convince them of the truth. We're called to share the truth with them. And so if that doesn't work, that's fine. We did what we were called to do. So instead of, like I said earlier, just beating them with the Bible, just like love them through it and show them that there is a difference and show them that we can disagree and we can have different beliefs, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends, and that doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means that we disagree.
Right. What I love about, I think, both of your answers together is it's intentionality, but in that intentionality is being prepared. And I think what we've seen in our world, and we're really going to talk about some of this on our Wednesday night series that starts this week called Take a Stand, but we're going to talk about how there's either been one side or the other. There's people that have loved really well and we're intentional in that, but we're not intentional in being prepared to have a conversation. Or there's people so prepared that they're not loving well. And it's a balance. It's a balance of in between of I have to love this person well, but also be ready to answer hard questions or have a conversation. Because if I'm not on both ends, then I'm going to really deter someone possibly from following the Lord and reaching them. And so I love the balance of that you are talking about and how we can put those two answers together. And I think you're right on the same lines and really have an influence and reach around us. So third question, ladies, last question. Here we go. So here's the deal. I heard y'all were going to answer this one together. So the question is, and then I'm going to count you down to see if you can say it at the same time together, okay? So the third question is this. What is a major current event that's of great interest to you right now? All right, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Take it away, Lani.
What? What? You were supposed to answer it at the same time. All right,
Well,
Lani,
okay.
she threw it on you. So
It's
what's
not just like one word.
Yeah,
so
you
I
can't
don't
just
know.
answer that in
Well,
one
I
word.
figured that. That's why I thought it was going to be interesting.
Well, it's not like necessarily like an event that happened, but I think with the pandemic and everything, I think that isolation and depression has been a big deal. I think I've actually looked recently, and depression rates have gone up over 20%, and that's just what's documented, you know. And I think that you know, humans, we're made for relationship and for interaction with each other, and I think it's hard with you know, whether it's having to go online or just with school or with quarantine. I think that we're all we're just really alone sometimes and kind of forced to go back into ourselves. And I think that this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, but intentionality, I think, is something that Christians it's always been something we've been supposed to do. But I think that this more so is almost a wake-up call for Christians to really take action there with being intentional and with reaching out to other people, because that's what they need, so they don't kind of go back into themselves, and they just need that interaction with other people.
Yeah, that's cool. What would you say? How would you add to the together answer there?
Yeah, so like with my thesis, which is something that we have to write at school, it's just like big long paper,
Right.
but it's kind of like about plastic surgery, and I promise I'm gonna relate it. But recently, I've been looking at like rates of depression and stuff, because a lot of time depression leads to people wanting to have plastic surgery, and in the past year depression rates have gone like skyrocket, and that's causing people to want to have more plastic surgery, but it's also causing like suicide rates, even abortion rates. Like I read a bunch of stuff like that. And so back to what Lani said, just about reaching out and trying to just communicate with people, because they are lonely. It does get lonely. Like even on a smaller scale, like when someone has to quarantine from school, they're just at home for 2 weeks, and we don't really think about like how lonely it is, but sometimes just like a simple text like, hey, how are you doing? Are you feeling good? I'm sorry that you're sick or that your parents are sick. You know, just stuff like that could cause them to be a lot happier.
Yeah, for sure. And so when you guys think about this and isolation and depression and kind of the reality of that, because it is real, those feelings are real, those things are really a hard thing to navigate. What would you say, like one sentence, to a friend or a person that could be listening to this right now that would say they're at a really hard place when it comes to feeling isolated, but whether due to the pandemic or not? What would y'all say to them? Lani, you can go first.
Say to someone that's
Somebody in that place, somebody that's let's say you had a friend that's in a depressive state. What would you say to them?
I think that I would just let them know how loved they are, and I think that that's not something, I mean, that is something that you would tell them, but I think that's more so something that you show them.
Yeah, that's really good. Not necessarily tell them that, but show them that. What about you, Maybri?
I think I would try to just be like, hey, I understand what you're going through is hard. It's very difficult. It is a real thing, but you are loved. Yeah. Like Lani said, just show them that you love them. And even just saying that to them is showing that you love them. Right. So,
yeah. So the understanding along with the reality of I love you and you are loved type thing. You know, I think that's something powerful to hear, because if we were honest, we all are around people every single day. You guys at school, maybe in our homes, maybe in people we come in contact with that are really not in good places. And I think we should really, as we talked about reaching earlier, you know, be intentional. God put people in our path. Help me to see them through your eyes and really help them to feel loved, because those are opportunities for us to really make the most impact right now when we think about living for the kingdom of God. So, guys, this has been fun.
Yes, it has.
Yes, the first
Yes.
duo on the podcast. Great job answering questions. Thankful for both of you. Proud of both of you. Excited for what God is going to do in the days ahead in both of your lives, and looking forward to just seeing that and watching you guys grow in that, and thankful for what you guys do in our student ministry, such great leaders. And again, thankful for all that God has done and what he's going to do. And we also want to say thank you to our listeners and our viewers for checking this out. Love for you to like and subscribe and share the podcast as always. And we look forward to our next episode. But again, ladies, great job. Thanks.
Thank you.